Welcome to Bay State Golf. I am Sean Melia. I'm trying to play every golf course in Massachusetts and share the knowledge that I find out along the way with you. Today's topic, we're talking about golf courses that I've played that I could play every day if I had the opportunity. This was a fun list to put together, mainly because it made me think about what matters to me as far as playing a golf course every day. What am I looking for? What would I want? And for me, it is a golf course that has some different types of holes, good variation, that's walkable. Love to walk golf courses, that's important to me. And just a general interest over the course of the entire round. I'm also not looking for a golf course that's just gonna kick my butt every day. That's not something I'm interested in as far as playing every day. Would that make me a better golfer if I played a place like George Wright every day? Probably. But that's not what this list is about. George Wright is one of my favorite public golf courses in the state of Massachusetts. However, it is not on this list, mainly because it is just not a place that I walk off the 18th green and want to go play right away again. And these golf courses have that quality to them. When I'm done, I want to go and I just want to tee it up on the first and play 18 more holes. So let's jump into the first golf course that I could absolutely play every day. That is Taconic out in Williamstown. Taconic is a tricky one to put on this list because it costs a good amount of money as a public golfer to go play it. It's a place that I do make a point to play at least once a year after I played it for the first time in 2020 because it is absolutely one of my favorite golf courses in the entire state. I would highly recommend anyone make a trip out there and go play. To play it as a public person and not a member, you do have to call the pro shop like 4, maybe 5 days in advance to make a tee time, and you're typically gonna get tee times that are, not as valuable, not as valued. You're gonna play late afternoon golf. It might be easier if you're a single golfer instead of a group of golfers. But Taconic is just an outstanding golf course. If you have any connections to Williams College, who owns the golf course, you start to get some discounts. I have befriended a member who is kind enough to join me if I'm ever out in Williamstown to play because he loves it. He joined. He has a bit of a drive to get out there, and he loves it enough that he joined a couple years ago to be able to make tee times and play as much golf as he would like there. It gets down to about $60 if you play with a member as an accompanied guest. If you're unaccompanied, they can make the tee time. It's $100. I believe it's $180 right now to walk Taconic. But that's just at this time of recording, it might be different. But Taconic, an outstanding 18 holes. It is probably the hardest golf course of the ones on this list, but I just enjoy the golf course so much. I love the setting. It's a place that I could absolutely go to and play every day because it's playable, it's pretty open. You're not gonna lose a lot of golf balls. The greens are outstanding, the conditions are always good. Just a really, really great vibe around the whole clubhouse. It's really about the golf at Taconic Golf Club. Just love it out there. So Taconic is definitely a place I would play every day, and I would recommend you go play at least once in 2025 because it is an outstanding, outstanding golf course. Number 2 is a golf course that, as someone who lives in Boston, I grew up in Acton in the area where this golf course is located, and it's a place that I did play a lot. Before I started my quest of trying to play every golf course in Massachusetts, this was my kind of go-to golf course. And that's Butterbrook in Westford, Mass. This is another one that's kind of a little bit on the higher price side, but you can join and be a member and play it every day. Good variation of holes. You play the front 11 are very much tree-lined, weaving through some tricky terrain. The front 9 has 3 par 3s, 3 par 4s, 3 par 5s, which is kind of a cool little quirk. And then after you play the 11th hole, a little bit of a long walk to the 12th tee, and 12 through basically 16, 17, and even 18, I guess, are very different as far as what's going on the golf course. A little bit more open. If you squinted, you'd think maybe you're in Florida, pretty flat land, some water hazards, some bigger bunkers, some waste areas. Just a really good golf course. I would say, and I know this is something that's come up when I've mentioned this golf course on Instagram or even here on YouTube, is the fact that the greens are never as good as people want them to be, which is kind of a shame because it is a top-notch public golf course. They ask you to pay for a top-notch public golf course, especially on the weekends. Weekdays are a pretty good price if you want to walk. I think you can walk it for between $60 and $80. They have kind of an escalating tee rate depending on the time of day and then the day of the week that you're playing. But Butterbrook, really, really good, strong golf course. It's tough. You can play it from the tips if you want and get your butt kicked. You could tee it up a little bit and go try to make some birdies and have a good day out there. So Butterbrook is another one on my list. Another one that's kind of more on the expensive side, and then we'll get to some of the better values if you're looking for that as well, is Kettle Brook. And Kettle Brook is in Paxton, Massachusetts. I've only played Kettle Brook one time. I played it in a very cold November day, I think in 2020. Finished in the dark, played the last 2 holes in the dark, but it also has the same kind of routing feel as Butterbrook, where you're playing a bunch of holes that are a little bit tighter, a little bit more tree lined, and then the end of the golf course, really once you get to 13, you're playing kind of more open golf. There's a couple little tight golf shots, but for the most part, it opens up a little bit. Another good, it's a Brian Silva, some kind of wacky greens, a couple little funky holes, some trees in the way, and centerline trees on 2 holes. And so that's kind of interesting if you like that, or if you just if you don't, it's at least engaging and makes you think a little bit as you're out there. But as far as my experience there, it's another course that, I played it, and every year I think I should go back and play it in just maybe a warmer day, get some better photos. Some of the golf courses I played in 2021 now are kind of getting short shrift on just, I was taking photos with my iPhone 10, and especially on this particular day at Kettle Brook, just trying to keep my hands warm because it was one of those very cold afternoons in the fall. But Kettle Brook, definitely worth checking out. Another one has a escalating kind of price line. You want to play during the week, it's pretty affordable and really good value. And then as you get into the weekend, especially in the mornings, those tee times are pretty expensive, and you're being forced to ride a golf cart. But you can find a good value in there if you want to go play Kettle Brook, and it's definitely a place that I would be interested in playing every day and really working on my game out there. Next one, in the city. I talked about George Wright. Franklin Park is the place for me on this list, as far as just a place that I would want to go play every day. I've said this a million times to people. George Wright's the place I would play one day, but Franklin Park is the place I would play every day. And what I mean by that is if I had someone in town, if I had someone visiting, if I wanted to just go and play a round of golf and I had the choice between Franklin Park and George Wright, I'd probably pick George Wright. It's just in a little bit better shape. Like I said, it's a little bit more challenging. You're gonna test your game a little bit. But if you just said you have to play one of these 2 courses for an entire summer and you can't play the other one, I'm picking Franklin Park. I love how open it is. I love the rolling hills. I love the fact that you can play it and not lose a golf ball. I think there are some challenging holes. The 12th hole is one of my favorite ones, basically in the state, to be honest with you. And it's tough. I think the kind of ability to knock your ball around and not hit it that great and still shoot an okay score is a valuable thing to me if I'm thinking about courses I would want to play every day or join as a member and play every day. So Franklin Park, absolutely on this list. I love that golf course. I am fortunate every year to play Franklin Park and George Wright on the same day. We call it the double dip. And it always feels better playing George Wright in the morning and Franklin Park in the afternoon, because Franklin Park is just this kind of like breath of fresh air. There's more space to play golf versus playing Franklin Park in the morning, being tired after walking 18 holes, and then going and trying to just grind out a score and 18 more holes at George Wright. So Franklin Park, absolutely on this list for me. We're going to stay and kind of municipal golf world, and we're going to talk about DW Field next. It is in Brockton, Mass, another golf course I have only played once. I really liked it. It's a golf course I recommend other people play. It's a golf course that when I do recommend it, people rave about how much better it's gotten in the last 4, 5, 6 years. It's a Styles Van Cleek, I believe, and just really good routing, pretty walkable, very walkable. And there's just a couple funny little walks to get to some different tees. Like if you're a first timer, you could get lost walking around. But overall, a really solid golf course. Greens are incredible just as far as their design. And when we played them, and they were in good shape, they were fun to putt, and there's some really good holes out there. And love DW Field. Another one that I just want to get back to and see again and play again because I just really did like it. And it's one in my mind I could absolutely play on the regular every day in Massachusetts. Next up, another one in kind of the central area, and that is Wachusett. Another golf course I have played once, and a golf course that I think about a lot. Really, really enjoyed my round at Wachusett. It's one of the golf courses that I recommend to people when they ask what are some kind of hidden gems, golf courses that I've never heard of, and Wachusett is another one. Wachusett and Kettle Brook are owned by the same family, and they also host the Worcester Amateur every year, so it holds up to very good golfers. That's a tournament that Matt Parziali and Nick Macario and Frank Vanna have won. Like some of the best amateurs in the state have won. Owen Quinn, who's now a pro, has won it. So just really good golf out there between Wachusett and Kettle Brook. Wachusett's kind of just a different feel. It's an old golf course. Donald Ross designed it. They've done a few things to kind of mix it up. I think the fourth hole, which is a par 3, used to be a par 4, but they built a driving range. Some good par 3s. The back nine is super charming. Some drivable par 4s, some reachable par 5s. It's really tight, but tight in kind of a way that for whatever reason I just found that I liked. Sometimes those golf courses and that design kind of drives me crazy, but it feels like it works at Wachusett for whatever reason. There's just enough space out there and it makes sense to me. So don't love that it finishes with a par 3. That's kind of a hit as for in my mind. 17 and 18 combined aren't really great. You could almost reroute the golf course and have holes 1, 2, 3 be 16, 17, and 18 and have a little bit more exciting finish. But overall, Wachusett is another one very much on my short list of golf courses I want to go play again and that I could play every day. We're gonna go south of the city next to Acushnet River Valley. Maybe one of the best values in Massachusetts right now. It's in great shape. It's a golf course. When you show up, you will be kind of taken aback the first time because the clubhouse is a trailer. It doesn't look like the golf course. If the golf course matched the visual from the parking lot, value would not be there. But the golf course is in great shape. It's interesting. It's another, I think it's a Silva, so it's got another kind of set of holes that you play for the opening part of the round, and then you go to a very different, distinct part of the golf course and you play through some marshland. Some holes there that I'm not crazy about, but overall, it's a really, really good golf course. It's down in Acushnet, Massachusetts, so kind of New Bedford area. Acushnet, the town, is where Acushnet, the company, started, so that's Titleist and FootJoy and all of that. So it's a really strong public golf course that I was very, very surprised by when I played it. I chose to play it on the particular day I chose because I had a friend who was working in New Bedford. He was visiting up from New Jersey, and we were just looking for a golf course that was kind of close to where he was staying, and that's where we picked, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Just a really, really strong golf course that I could absolutely play every day. So that's 7 golf courses, and as I was building out this list, I realized and I knew that the north part of the state, north of Boston, was left off. And I kind of went through, and once again, I'm only recommending golf courses that I have played since 2020. If I have not checked it off, so I have 142 golf courses to choose from as I'm recording this. And so, you know, I've played a handful of golf courses north of the city, and none of them really stood out to me as like, yes, this is a place I would absolutely recommend people go play or that people would want to play every day. I think there's some cool golf courses. I think Gannon is a good golf course. Not sure I could play it every day. I think Mount Hood is kind of a cool golf course. Not really sure I could go and tee it up there every day. Good golf courses. I have not played Beverly Golf and Tennis in years, so that's another one I wouldn't count on this list just because I'm not allowed to by my own rules. But another kind of cool golf course that maybe the back nine would keep me coming back for more because I remember it being really good. But nothing really stood out to me. But I wanted to give you two that I think are the closest for me in my experience playing. One is Hillview in North Reading. I played Hillview this year. They're doing a bunch of work there. Mark Munjum has put new tee boxes in a bunch of holes on the back nine, some fresh bunkering. I played the front in some serious fog. So, you know, some shots where I couldn't see where I was going. But I did like the front. Then I got to play the back nine solo. I'd played the back nine once before earlier in the year, but I couldn't play the front because there was a league going off, so I could only play 9 holes. So I'd seen the back nine before, and I think the back nine is really good. It's got some Wachusett energy as far as it's pretty tight and kind of claustrophobic, but in this way that seems fair and you're not hunting for balls all the time. You can kind of be careful off the tee box and have some shots at birdie and par if you want, or you could really, if you want to hit driver, you can, and kind of maybe pay the cost if you don't hit it straight. But Hillview, I thought was pretty good, and it's a course that, you know, living where I live, kind of north edge of the city of Boston, it's not a terrible drive. That if I wasn't trying to play every course, this is a place I would go and kind of play, not every day, but it would be a regular kind of place to go see every year, just because I think it was pretty good. Staff was nice, kind of had a good experience there. And then the last one is Merrimack Valley, which is farther north, and that is kind of a little Donald Ross mutt of a golf course. There's a bunch of stuff that they've done to help with drainage because in its name, it is very much in a valley. You tee off the 1st and the 10th holes and you head downhill, and you basically play kind of in this bowl of land that just soaks up a lot of water and gets pretty wet. But it's a really good golf course, and the greens are interesting. There's a few little holes that, you know, you're playing around housing developments, which is not my favorite thing. I don't think any of these courses that I kind of named today play around housing developments. I don't really love that type of golf. So I would put Merrimack Valley as another course that, you know, north of the city that I've played that I thought was good, that was worth going back to, that I've looked at tee times, which is another maybe good sign when I had a day and I want to go back and maybe play a place a second time, because I saw it on a very soggy summer. I think it was in 2022 when we got a bunch of rain over the course of June and July and August, maybe even 21. So I would like to go back and see it again, maybe in a drier time. Really great closing hole, maybe one of the better closing holes in public golf in the state as well. Big par 5 with a cool green, and the setting there is really neat. So that's two for the folks north of the city who I know are wondering what I might put on this list. Those two I think are probably the closest, and I'm looking forward to playing some other golf courses on the North Shore. I love Cape Ann. I don't know if I'd want to play Cape Ann every day just because it's a 9-hole golf course, and that can kind of get a little bit monotonous. And you know, so I've played Black Swan. Don't know if I'd want to play Black Swan every day. I've also played some other golf courses. So just for the folks up north, that is my my two little thoughts on there if you want to head up there and play Hillview, Merrimack Valley. So let's go through the list again. I could play Taconic every day. I could play Butterbrook every day. I could play Kettle Brook every day. I could play DW Field every day, Franklin Park, Wachusett, Acushnet River Valley, and then I'll throw in Hillview and Merrimack Valley up north of Boston. So that's it for today's show. Please subscribe, like, Throw some comments. What are some golf courses that you could play every day in Massachusetts? It's the depths of winter right now, so maybe these thoughts will warm you up and give you something to look forward to as we survive January, February, March, and hopefully get back out on the golf course sooner rather than later. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.